be careful what words you use as a basis for some kind of a major theological point. I could just see somebody preaching an entire sermon on the word bringing, which is actually a supplied word from our own language that isn't expressed in the original. I could just see that happening. In fact, I hate to say this, but I bet you if I went online, I could find a few sermons that would do exactly that. When the reality is, this is good reason to read the original languages or learn how to. You wouldn't want to do that because, as you look at the original language, you would see that that's being expressed in English, and it's sort of just a given in the original language. There's no emphasis upon it. If, for example, Paul wanted to emphasize the idea of the divine aspect or whatever else it might be, then there's all sorts of terms he could have used. There's other ways he could have expressed himself and emphasized maybe the perfect tense. God's the one who's done this and accomplished this, like he does in Ephesians 2 or stuff like that. When he doesn't do that, when the author doesn't do that, then it's best that we don't try to read into his statements anything more there. Do you want to just limit ourselves to these last two? Wrap them up? Okay, sounds like a good idea. Let's talk then, get the last two calls in here and talk with Greg. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Dr. White.
Yes, sir.
My question revolves around our society, I guess, relationship with Islam, because I've met this imam through doing my graduate work, and a lot of his interactions with Christians haven't been good. He's got people that come and protest outside of his mosque and everything, and we had a really good conversation because he was helping me with my work. And then he kind of offered, to do some community stuff together.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I'm scared because I don't want to open up too much, but I don't want to open my congregation up, to too much influence from that. But at the same time, my heart really breaks for him because, he's such a nice guy, and I would love to, extend the gospel to him, multiple times. And right. Where's the line there?
Well, when you say people protest and stuff like that, why? Just because they're Muslim, or because he's said certain things, or what's the context there?
He says, this is just his side, but he's gone to speak at some more, more liberal churches where they want to, they don't mind having him come and fill the pulpit, and some more conservative people from the churches, they really get into politics and stuff, just come over there and drive through with signs on their cars, and people that give us bad names with this, offensive signs on their cars.
Okay.
And he tells me that he'll, at least once a month, he'll have some guy just come out at the very edge where he's legally allowed to just holds up signs against Islam and Allah is, any number of things.
Right. Okay. Well, when you say community things, you're talking about feeding the poor or what?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you have to be the one who has the gauge of the spiritual maturity of your own congregation. And you have to know if your people can not only engage in meaningful dialogue with Muslims, but be able to live the gospel out in front of them, to be able to speak to them of the gospel in a gracious way, understand what the differences are, and then be able to interact with them without forcing every single statement to be a controversial or confrontational situation. Only you can know whether your people have the spiritual maturity and background and grounding to be able to do that, and if they will know that this is not compromise on your part where everybody's saying, hey, we all believe the same thing, let's just all get along, but rather, actually, we don't believe the same things, and we're going to discuss where the differences are, but that doesn't mean that we have to be constantly battling with one another. That doesn't mean that we can't break bread together. That doesn't mean that we cannot together stand for good things in our community. Maybe clean up some neighborhoods so that the people in those neighborhoods can have better lives. Whatever else it might be. If our people know what they believe and are truly committed to who Jesus Christ is, then we should be the ones actually seeking those opportunities. But if our people are only nominal in their commitment, then that wouldn't be something that would be wise to expose them to, because they really can't engage in the necessary conversation. And when I think about the context of the early church, these are people who were willing to publicly engage in dialogue and even disputation, but they were in the small minority, so they were the ones that were taking the message out. They were going against the flow. It wasn't that they were hiding, in an enclave someplace in case their people might get influenced by something. There weren't enough of them for that to be a relevant issue. And so really, I think it's up to the pastor of the elders of the church to have a knowledge of where their people are, to be able to know whether that's something that would be advisable or not. The reality is you've experienced what I've experienced, and that is so many of these imams are wonderful human beings. Sadly, they don't really know what we believe, and so often the picture of Christianity they have is a hateful, confrontational, non-respecting perspective. And when they actually find someone who has a soft heart, loves Jesus, knows why they believe in him, and wants to share that, but not in such a way that I just have to shove this down your throat, and that's all we could ever talk about, and I'm just a one-trick pony. They're really amazed by someone like that, and there are real opportunities. But unfortunately, most of what they see are the pretty nasty types of things, rather than the people who have taken the time to learn what they believe and really want to live the life of Christ and see them come to know him as well.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
So that wasn't a yes or no answer. It was it's up to you, and there's some of the best guidelines I can give you as to